Logic App supports providing static values for the output of any given steps to facilitate the testing process during the development by providing a sample data as an output without performing the actual action. Now, I'm here on the designer. I will start a workflow according to schedule. Now, after that, I will connect to OneDrive to get the content of a specific folder. So in OneDrive, we have a folder called Files, and I'm adding an action to list the files within this folder. Now, after that, I can have another step to loop the individual file and to perform any operation on the files. Now, during development, every time that I will run my workflow, the workflow will connect to our OneDrive and get the files from the folder. Now, this may be not a practical during the development because this may be a production folder of files, and we don't want to do any action that cause a corruption of the files during the development and the testing. So instead of this, we could manage the workflow for this step to provide a static result as an output for this step to this step. So there's every time that I'm running the workflow, there will be no any actual connection for the workflow to OneDrive files. Instead of this, we'll be using the output of this step for the other steps that need a data from that output. So what we'll be doing here, we will configure this step to provide a static result according to the output for the given step. But in order to do this, we have first to understand what's the structure of the output for this step. So let's save it and run the workflow. I will go to the overview, to the run details. For the list files in folder step, I will see what's the output, what's the expected output from this step. So here I should receive something called the header, which contains the status for the operation. So here it's returning 200, that means that the connection succeeded. And some headers information, and within the body we will have the list of files. So what I'm expecting here, to go to the list files and folder step and provide the output and configure the output to be static according to this given structure. So I will take this output and paste it on the notepad. We have a list of the files, which I guess it's 5 files. Now, to make sure that I'm getting the data from the static results, I will delete 3 files and consider that the step retains only 2 files. Okay, I'll go back to the designer. Now for this step, I will go and configure something called static result. I will enable the static result. Now, first of all, I can configure whether this step will be executed successfully or it will be failed. Now, because I may have some scenarios here when we have a failure connection to our OneDrive, so statically I can support or force the workflow to consider this step as a failed step, so I can proceed the workflow accordingly. For the time being, I will consider it as succeeded. And here's the output. Now for the output, I have to provide the header and the body. Instead of this, I can go to the JSON format, and as you can see here, we have the status code OK. Now I will go back to the structure that I already took from the execution result, and as you can see, we have here the same scenario. We have the status code, we have the headers, and we have the body. So I will take the body part and paste it here, and I'll press on done. So this has been configured. Now every time we will be executing the workflow, this action will not connect to our OneDrive, and it will provide the static result that we have provided to the other step. Let's try it. I will save and run the workflow. We will go back to the overview, to the run history. Now, in the run history, as you can see, we have the workflow execution completed, and we have a column here that's showing we have enabled the static result for this execution. So if we go to the execution, to the run details, to the list files and folders, you will see on the output we have the same expected output, but only 2 files, and this proves that we didn't make an actual connection to the resource. And this, as mentioned, is a useful tool during the testing and the development of workflow, so it will not affect any production service. Now, once you are done, so simply you can go back to the designer and you can disable it. Then, once we run the workflow again, so this will go in the normal process and it will make a real connection to the OneDrive folder. Now here's the new execution. We don't have a static result, and if we will go back to the details, we will see that we got all the files, and that's proof that we are currently connecting to the resource or to the service.